Guys, welcome once again. We're going to be doing a RTA tier list on G3 and that kind of good stuff. So we got a whole bunch of units in there. Let's place all of them. We did also include the new Tekken 8 units. And I think the last one was like 4.5 months ago. Of course, we will be checking the data from the MSW ranking. If you have never seen the tier list from me before, I like to use these numbers rather than triple S, double S, S, and that kind of stuff. This is triple S, this is double S, this is S, this is A. Like, it's legitimately the same thing. Only this gives me more flexibility to at some point say 77.5 rather than like A plus and that kind of weird stuff. So in this case, it's a little bit more flexibility. That's legitimately the only reason that I do this, and I've been doing this for a while. So we're just gonna keep that in there. Without further ado, this is going to be a long video. Timestamps on the video will be for all of the family names and then grouped up with a bunch of family names, so I'm going to be using all of that. Also, units that are below 2% pick rate, I don't have to place in. So that is one of those things that might be is like, oh, why is unit X or unit Y missing? It is below 1% or like 2% pick rate. And I prefer not to be searching that crazy long for all of the units as well. And like something like this, why is it Tarnisha in? Below that kind of pick rate. So let's start off with Icarus. Pretty sure that's not in. So we do always start off with the Han. Definitely at some point I will be upping and lowering units a little bit. Han currently 4% win rate, sitting at a 50 win rate. Han is definitely not the craziest in current state. I think I'll still... He's also one of those highly elevated by having multiple units and very weak if you don't have multiple units. So if you have a Wunsa, he becomes way better. If you don't have a Wunsa, he becomes way worse. Same if you have a Gianna, he becomes way better. If you don't, he becomes way worse. So it's definitely an LD carried unit itself. So, Unicorn, don't do ammo like that. I think I'm just gonna give Han a 50 or like an 80 right now. I think he's okay-ish, but I actually feel like that if you don't have any of the other LDs, he becomes very hard to play, and you might as well be drafting like a Marcia or anything like that. And it's also the Dark Robo is really not in meta. If the Dark Robo is in meta, he right away jump up a little bit, but since it's not in meta, Han kind of feels like a little bit lower in the first place. Moving on to the Valkyries, starting off. Let's start off with Fire. What are we looking at? 14% pick rate is definitely decent pick rate. Win rate is close to 50-ish. I think it's also one of those units that's very strong, elevated by having certain single target damage dealers on LD. So if you do have a Han, it becomes a lot better. If you do have a Zeratul, it becomes way better. If you have the Dark... Zenizek, what is Zenizek? No, Zenitsu. Then it becomes way better. But overall, I would say 85-ish overall, still stable unit. I think that a Camilla kind of left the meta. I was one of the few people still using some Camillas here and there. But I definitely did notice that even I was picking way less Camillas. And for good reason. So no more Camilla in this. And I think that is fair. Camilla, I'm not really sure what shifted her out of meta, but maybe a Layla or so. That could kind of make sense. I'm kind of searching for a unit that makes sense for removing her from meta, but that might make sense. Achroma is just mainly a 5th pick. She's sitting at 48.48. I still like myself a good 5th pick Achroma, but she's definitely finding more troublesome in current meta because there's just so many multi-hitters with Shihos, Laylas, blah, 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 the whole yada yada. She kind of counters them, but she also kind of dies to them. Plus, it's not really the meta. She shined a lot more in the Zibala, Dark Robo kind of style of meta. She was definitely good in there. But now, right now, even on really good runes, it's not that crazy good. So I'm going to give her a 70. However, on a good last pick moment, she still might jump up a bit. So it's definitely always one of those you want to keep runed up. Let's see Trinity. Trinity recently got a buff, right? She goes for the... Well, okay. Well, Trinity is close to 2% pick rate. I'm not sure who's cleaving with this shit. Maybe it's a Cabrera or something, but I'm still not really feeling the Trinity. But if you have all of the other LDs to pair with Trinity to actually get to like perfect good cleave, I definitely do think a combination of a crack is very interesting and very like potent for getting that. But without that, I'm not too sure if you're actually gonna make enough damage out of her. That's just the main thing. I'm gonna keep her at 60 for that reason. Lots of Vivachel, Lucifer, Trinity. Yeah, it's very LD heavy. If you have those LDs, she jumps to 75. Without those LDs, she's legit meme. So, gonna give her in between a 60 for that reason. We actually did see a comeback of Eshir, mainly being played by Guts the Berserk and also by Lest and Pooh in SWC, and it's actually sitting at a comfortable win rate of 52. That is pretty insane. It's also one of those units that, sure, you have the Shiho, but Eshir is still a really strong unit, especially with some units with good speed scaling and stuff. So I would say Eshir. Do we drop Eshir all the way at like 90 right away? I actually do feel like he's really good. I think he might be fitting a 90. If we look at the win rates, does go a little bit down if he's not in the match, but if he is in the match, but still ban rate is crazy high. I feel like it's a good 90. End of the day, 2A unit. Not bad, not bad. Moving on next, we have some good old vampires, starting off with Vert. I definitely don't think it's Vert's meta right now. And that is shown 46% win rate, probably if it's in the match. Oh, okay. Still decent ban rate, but I think Vert is kind of, it's just not really his meta. Like, he's still good in good situations, but simply not his meta. And I think we're looking at the same thing for Julian. However, I would say a strong Julian 5th pick is still really good. It's just a little bit hard to ruin him and keep him ruined up. And that actually does showcase in his 1% pick rate and 48 win rate as well. He is below 2% pick rate, so I don't have to place him in, but I kind of do want to place him in, and I feel like he's a 70. He's definitely a Chroma kind of level. Like, a good 5th pick might be nice, but then again, is he that crazy? Not really. Let's see for a Cadiz. Pretty sure it's definitely not going to be picked as much, but might be one of those weird-ass underrated units that's still finding some love here and there. If you do see it, please call it out. Oh, it's over there. Yep, there we have it. Oh, that's, well, very low pick rate. I'm not even going to place that. Moving on to the dragons. Dragons. Do people actually like to play the water dragon? I highly doubt it. And yep, pretty much not at all. I would say Sarath. Maybe some. Dustining is not inting on this season, so he's sitting at a... I would also still say Sarath. In all honesty, it is still one of those units. If you have the full cleave for it, it can work. Without it, it's not that crazy good. So I'm just going to give it a 65 by best. But it's mainly one or two people kind of spamming / playing it. Moving on next. I have seen some people play Grogan, since Grogan is super recently buffed. Don't do that shit. Keep that shit hidden. don't be playing that shit. That's... If you want to inch your win rate, go for a Grogan pick. Jemire is actually 1.5%. It's okay-ish. I kind of want to give Jemire 70-ish. It's one of those weird counters against a Veronica, but then it's always like, does he right away move after the Veronica that you don't outspeed the Veronica? Because if you outspeed the Veronica, it's weird. So since you know your speed, but you don't know your own speed, it's kind of like, it is good against Segment. Do have to give Ammo the credits for that one. That's definitely true as well. So let's move on to some other units. Do people actually use Eludia in RTA? I've seen people Eludia on double Nem Will, and it's actually, yeah, it's decently picked. Mainly, once again, it's one of those cleave kind of things. If I had an Eludia myself, I would definitely run it at double Nem Will. So it's one of those weird last picks, but it's even for a late pick not that great. Once again, if you have the more whole LD Trinity with a Lucifer and blah, blah, that kind of stuff, it is a lot better. Otherwise, it's kind of bad. Let's see how about the Blackbird, as we might call it. It's not a Yellowbird, Bluebird. Okay, not enough for the Jara over there. These two definitely not used. I think that Teor is most likely also not used as much. Yeah, definitely not. How about a Lagmaron? I don't think Lagmaron has that much play, even less. How about the Light Lagmaron? Mr. Jean de Paul, also not used that much. Well, then we go into the Rakan, also picked up a little bit more in SWC. Not the craziest of win rates. 48 win rate, 2% pick rate. I do like myself some Rakan in some picks here and there, though. I actually do kind of feel like running up Rakan as well. Only issue is, does he really value crazy good runes? I'm not sure about it. But in the right draft where your enemy doesn't have any cleansers, Rakan is really nasty to work with. So definitely want to give Rakan a little bit more credits than his win rate is representing over there. Then moving on next to the Dark Rakan, which is a little bit better, but it's sitting not at a crazy win rate at the moment. So 50... Wait, it's actually in the 4v4, so it's just... Every time it's banned, it's really bad, but the moment he goes into 4v4, he goes up by 1.5% win rate in the 4v4. So if he makes it into the match, he's still crazy good. It's just people are drafting him away where he's easily banned out. That is kind of interesting, but it does show a lot of strength for this unit still. So I'm definitely going to drop a 90 on this one. I would argue, no, argue stronger than Eshir. I would definitely say, I feel like 0-2, for the moment, 0-2 procs is just so crazy strong. I already feel like that I want to do this. Like, we're going to get to this point anyways, and this is the earliest in-betweener tier that I've ever made in my life. But I know I'll get to this point at some point anyway, because he's definitely better than Eshir, but he's definitely not on a 95 level. Like, he's not as spammable as he was in previous seasons, but 0-2 is still crazy good. Sadly enough, I pulled 1-0-2, not my account, on someone else's account, and it was a dupe. Double shit. Moving on next, we have some Valkyrja flavor. Valkyrja is definitely slowly creeping back into the meta. 50 on the win rate, or close to 50, 10% on the pick rate. That is actually pretty nice numbers. I would say Valkyrja, good 80. Good 80. It's not crazy that you would spam it in that kind of stuff. He's definitely having his counters, but he also has that proc, Sanctuary, hey, my whole team is fucked kind of mechanics, which he gets the RNG mechanics for that, plus 100% res against Shihos. Could be a thing here and there. So it's definitely not the worst out there, but I don't really value him more than just an 80. How about the light version? I think that's a unit we haven't seen altogether in quite a while, the Artemiel. Even the players that had very strong Artemiels and made Artemiel work for a bit, such as Rexes, even them are not playing it that much. I definitely do think Valkyrja is also one of those units. If you're feeling good on your RNG, pick more Valkyrja. It's definitely one of those. Fermion, I highly doubt that any would ever play that, so I'm just kind of wasting my time trying to find that unit. No, but let's swap. There might be some bruiser-ish that still would Fermion. I highly doubt that. Where is unit at? It's always so hard to find units that are not all the way at the top right away. Nope, nope, nope. Where is unit at? No way it's even further down, right? Even already finding the Dark Djinn and stuff. To the left, far left, one of left. You passed it. It doesn't help if you say you passed it. Just say far left, far right. Okay, it's high-ish on win rate, but it's way too low on pick rate, so I'm not going to be using that. Okay, moving on next. Oracles. Always the big question, where does Sei place his own Oracles? Praha. I think Praha would be good if there weren't that many good strippers in game already. Therefore, Praha simply not used. How about Sierra? Sierra, highest pick rate? Second highest pick rate? What are we looking at for Sierra right now? Second highest pick rate, just one above the Shio. Definitely super strong unit in current meta. Definitely a 92.5 as well. It's just that much picked. It's that strong. Do we argue for this? No, I'm arguing for just a 92.5 because she has the issue of like just a dot. Like everyone knows how that feels. If she didn't have just a dot, she would be up here or up here. That is kind of the thing. How is this meta for Juno? It's actually a meta. I've heard a few people say that before. Juno feels very strong on Vampire in this meta. Is sitting at a 51.5 win rate. It's definitely not bad numbers. So Juno, I dropped Juno a good 90. For the amount of pick rate, 11, 51, it's still super strong counter pick. It does have a little bit of issues with some cleanse block units, such as a Song Lao, maybe even a Layla. But then again, if Layla starts to glance, it's still super strong unit. Plus, as I mentioned, a good one on Vampire. She on Vampire is actually one of those solo potentials in current meta if you have good enough runes on it. I am very curious to see what Lima does in the current season. Lima is actually one of those units I miss the most, because one of the most fun seasons I had was when Lima was cracked, but that was when Lima was cracked for me, rather than for everyone else on the Triple Revenge. Right now, she's just kind of a sad thingy. It's not the worst out there, but I definitely don't give it much better than a 65 at the moment, even if you full focus on it, even with this win rate that it's representing. She has too many issues where it's just not that great. Moving on next, Gianna. Gianna definitely strong. I think it is the most picked LD5 in game. If she's in the 4v4, she does climb win rate by 50%. Is she the most picked LD in game? Yep, she definitely is. I give a little bit of credit to Lima. It's still good if you focus good runes. So Gianna, good question. Where do we pick Gianna? Is that 95? I think it's 95 value. I definitely don't feel like she's 100 value. If she was 100 value, she would have had higher win rate in my opinion. She has a lot of matches where she does have her counters in a hay gang. She does have her counters in being outsped. She does have her counters in Josephine, she does have her counts in like Joe Gun. There's a lot of strong units at the moment that do kind of counter her to a certain extent. And her win rate is not really representing like crazy high numbers. So I feel like Gianna is a little bit overrated. And I think where we can see where Gianna's very overrated is that people start playing her in the challenge arena, where in the challenge arena everyone can go for Gianna. And Gianna's actually sitting by a win rate on the third lowest win rate unit in this whole pile. And her stats, definitely not crazy good, but it's also not that bad. But it's interesting to see that she's the third lowest from all of these units in the pile. So I think she is a little bit overrated. Plus, she has the rest check issue. So 95 is, I think, fair for her. I will probably be making a 90s... I will be making a tier above this. Oh, wait, the other above, not you. The lead row, this one, above. Because I do already know some feelings for units that will be over here. Oh, let's do it the other way around. It makes a little bit more sense. And I do already know what is sitting at 100 tier. But I feel like some units are stronger than Gianna in current meta. Buffer, no, she definitely does not need a buff. She does not need a buff. Moving on next, Annabelle. Definitely a very strong unit. Super pivotal meta unit right now. Long defense breaks. Close to 51 win rate. 13.5 pick rate. Absolutely stellar, strong unit. Would I say this? Her win rate is not really representing this, like the 92.5, but I'm kind of feeling 92.5 now. Let's just actually place it 90. I think she does have her own counters where she just gets stunned and died, and 100 res is like, 100 res, right? 100 res. Eh. How about Rika? I haven't seen too much Rika. It's mostly not that inviting to play Rika, and that does show over here as well. Charlotte, pretty sure it's not played. Let's check about Laura. After 16 million nerfs, Laura is sitting at 52 win rate on a 15 pick. That is probably number 5, 6. Yeah, that is number 3. No, wait, 5. So this is Gianna, number 1 most picked. Second most picked, Gojo, third most picked, Songshilao, fourth most picked, Veifuchel. And then the 5th most picked, which also has the highest win rate of all of the LDs that are in the top 5, is still Laura. That is pretty darn busted. And for that reason, hey, you can call me biased, you can call me not biased. I feel like Laura is above that. Might be slightly biased because I do have Song Chen Lao, and Song Chen Lao Laura is a crazy good combo, whereas Song Chen Lao and Gianna is more of the same in the combo, which doesn't really help that much, but I still think she's really freaking crazy strong. Putting it over Gianna, well, then again, this thing has a 1.5% up on the win rate, which that is definitely fair numbers for being placed higher. It's just less spammable, maybe. Well, how much is Gianna? Would I say same? Yeah, I would say, okay, I'm going to place it 95. If you do have the Zhongchen Lao, it's 100. I'm going to place it 95 as well, yeah. I think that is fair. I think that is fair. But if you have the Zhongchen Lao, she's definitely higher up. Because that's definitely the highest. I saw Cabrera use Maxi, Dark Monkey, Jogan, Tiana, Cleave. Could you try that? I probably am. I was thinking about trying that, but I don't really have Cabrera kind of speed runes, though. Like, he has, like, pretty much 240 and 235 set. I have just 235-ish, or whatever. And then it slows down. So we'll have more issues with speed contesting. How about Nikki today? But I might give that comp a try, yeah, because why not? It's pretty low on RNG. But his speed sets are way above mine. That is definitely for sure. My 5 sets would probably be above his, but his Swift sets are way above mine. Nikki. What do you have? 55 win rates? Okay, wow. I think it's just a few people spamming this with weird shit. What is being that strong with a Nikki at the moment? I'm curious on that. Actually, check it in here. It's easy to check in here. I am very curious to see what Nikki together win rate. What is your together win rate? 200 matches. Okay, barely has that many matches in the whatever in the whole pool. Yeah, barely has that many matches. So it's just a few people kind of playing with it, mainly paired with like Hans or Tia Lynx, and okay, it's just, yeah, weird ass cleave kind of things. I would say 85. I think 85 is a fair number. It is definitely more usable than a Han, but it's also not something crazy that you start spamming that all the time unless you have like the pairs of the LD. So it's more a paired LD kind of thing rather than anything. Yeah, Benny was playing that, but also Pooh was playing that with like full LD draft. Benny is playing that with full LD draft. To be honest, no, it's just too much full LD drafts. I'm gonna go for 80. It's too much full LD drafts. It's even way more full LD drafts than the Han needs full LD draft. So because of that, we're just gonna lower it down. Let's check Beth. Are people still playing Beth for the Hey Gang? Nope. Nope. Not anymore. That one definitely not. Let's move on to Athena. Athena's slowly crawling a little bit back into meta, even though the Megami is doing strong. 49 win rate, 9% on pick rates. Definitely not the worst out there. If she's in the match, she's actually upping on win rate. That is not too bad. I'll give her a solid 80. 80 for effort. Everyone hates Benny. No, I love Benny. Benny, nice guy. Oh, wait, I should actually tell that Benny looks like one of the Dutch politicians, and he actually became the biggest party, so Benny is the next Prime Minister of the Netherlands, because he looks exactly like that guy. I haven't told him yet. I have to congratulate him with his victory in politics. Something like that. Asima, really terrible. Don't play Asima. Let's move on to Karaka. To be honest, the only Karaka I've ever seen being used by anyone is either Sambi Sap or is Guts. Those are the only two actual Karaka spammers users. And it's not doing that great. And it's also some kind of cleave-ish rather than anything. I'll give it a 65 my best. I'm not a big fan. Not really sold. Too low activation rate. If she had proper activation rates, she would be good. Like if she had 50 on the strip, 50 on the armor break, and I think she just has like 35s or something, or even if it's 50s right now, make it 75, whatever it is, make it more, then she becomes good. If you don't, it's ass. And Darius. We've seen at Darius, oh man, that was the most fun thing during the cast. And Darius was absolutely doing jack shit on that whole draft of Lest or Pooh, or I don't know who it was. That unit did absolutely fucking nothing. And I do think it's not really an Antares kind of season, so 65 my best. Moving on next to my favorite unit in game. Now, actually, Loki, I'm liking Chow a lot. My Chow is actually ruined good at the moment. It's not representing that well. It's actually kind of funny. The moment that he's in the match, he's doing worse than when he's banned. And he's banned pretty often. But a good Chow definitely does very strong. Chow, straight up to 75. It is just the last pick, and therefore he doesn't get higher value. And his last pick value, he doesn't get crazy win rate, so otherwise he would be higher. But I do think that there's a really big difference between a really good Chow and just an average, okay-ish damage Chow. Because in the end, a good Chow can two hits a freaking Shiho. And that is definitely pretty nice. Laika, definitely not the meta for Laika if a Shiho is one of the highest picked units in game. And therefore, we're probably not going to be seeing... wow, actually surprised. Okay. Not a big fan of Laika, 65. But close to 1.5 pick rate, 49 on the win rate. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. How about Leo these kind of day and ages? I wonder if ACOG still feels like Leo is the strongest unit in game. 51 win rate on that high pick rate? It's actually one of those units that drops win rate the moment he's in the match. Valeska players. True. I think that Leo is also more the cleave kind of LD players. Like the cleave LD players make the Leo good, rather than the Leo's good by itself. So therefore, I'm just going to give... would I do fair to these numbers to drop it that low? No, I'm going to give it 80. It's still good against Sonya-ish. But 16... yeah... well, by the win rate and by the numbers, it is representing higher than this. But, you know, honestly, I don't want to drop Leo any higher than 80. I feel like 80 is fine for Leo. Still, unit always keep it ruined, but I feel like the people that spam it often are just the people that do have specific LD cleaves rather than anything. How about Jaeger? Jaeger's absolutely horrible. Misty, Hwoarang, Chakra, Miles, Sonya. Misty does kind of care about it. Hwoarang doesn't give shit about it. Sonya, if on will, doesn't give shit about it. Miles is barely played. Chakra it's actually a good Chakra counter. Okay, I'll one-up him for the Chakra counter, but he barely counters Hwoarang that much. Misty he does counter. But actually, you don't see as much Misties anymore. Isn't the most banned unit in game? Probably is. No, Douglas is actually most banned, but way lower pick rate. But yeah, I'll give him 85 for effort. Moving on to a Ragdoll. I think Ragdoll is slowly chipping back into meta as well. Yep. People called me crazy for picking Ragdoll in my top 3 on Dark. I was like, yo, I already have most good Dark units, which kind of helps out. But, yo, look at that win rate, man. 52.88. Close to 9% pick rate. Ragdoll's still good, man. It's just a 5th pick, but I feel like Ragdoll's really solid still. Do we even feel like it's this solid? To be honest? Nah, it's just too little picked, right? What were the Zeratul numbers? Nope. Nope. Ragdoll goes back to 92.5 in my opinion. A lot of Ragdoll players will disagree with me on that one, but I still feel like Ragdoll is so chill because Ragdoll doesn't take any of your runes that you use in anything else on anything, because he has a really specific set on slow and then just high efficiency. Plus, Ragdoll can do a good amount of damage. Plus, let's say Shio gets one turn, and then Ragdoll's one of the few units you can outspeed 33s with being a 24. Because one crit from a Shiho, Ragdoll makes your whole team move. Nerf Ragdoll. Don't have to nerf Ragdoll, and the Ragdoll is good. Plus, he still has the Torrent danger. It's still one of those units, man. You gotta keep that part in mind. Moving on next to you. Definitely not used. Nope, thank you for not being used. I think Fire Monkey's also slowly drifting out of meta. Yeah, 48 on the win rate, 6% on the pick rate. It's definitely still a good unit to have, but it's not that crazy. So 75 is what I give. He's kind of chow level. Like on the right draft, he's kind of nice. Otherwise, kind of eh. Moving on to the next, which is a Shio. Shio is actually slightly lowering in win rate as well. It's just well, in the 4-4, it's actually getting stronger. But it is a pretty solid unit, 3rd most picked unit in game. And I definitely do feel like he's stronger than Sierra in current meta. Even though the win rates and that kind of stuff aren't, well, in the 4v4 it's kind of representing that. But it's one of those units he's still really good to give your best speed set to. So I do give Shio more credits than the Sierra. Only issue this fucker has is a 12% or 12.5% chance to say, like, skill 3 stun. I don't even look at resistance. It's just not activated. Like, fucking shit unit. He has a little bit too much all or nothing in his whole kit. And then the second skill is actually called all or nothing. But yeah, if you get all the stuns, it's really good. If you don't get it, it's really mediocre. So yeah. Moving on next, a light monkey, also known as the Chitian Deshung. 63.70% win rate, best unit in game. That's actually insane win rates. It's just not picked much. But I do feel like if you pair that with a Joe Gunn or something, it is still pretty strong, but way too low on pick rate to actually give some credits to. Then we go for the Zhongsheng Lao, which is sitting at a 52.37% win rate, which, in my opinion, this is the LD I'm using the most, and I do have Gianna. This thing is really darn freaking strong. And is it higher than Gianna? It's kind of on edge, though. Well, it's competing with a Laura, I would say, for... Yeah, it's definitely not better than a Laura. It is not better than a Laura. That's definitely a thing. It is strong, though. Do we feel... Now, to be honest, if I'm looking at this pile, is Shio even as strong as that? I actually low-key feel that we're doing this. Yep, I think that this makes sense. Because Shio is definitely weaker than these 3. It's not fair to put Shio on the same level as these 3. So I'm gonna 95 that and up all of these to 1 up. Fuck Shio. Yeah, I do agree on that one. Moving on next. Chandra, the lone survivor in the Beast Monks. 48 on the win rate, 10% pick rate. It's also kind of getting a little bit back to meta. I would say it is still a... If you don't like to play Oliver, you don't like to play the Sierra comp, then Chandra Megumi is pretty much the closest thing you get to next. So because of that, I still think he has pretty nice, substantial reason to be runed up. But I'll give it 85. It is still pretty strong, but it's not crazy, crazy. Moving on next, Yon Hong. I hate Megumi. Everyone hates Megumi. Nerf that unit to the ground. Yon Hong is actually doing a little bit better. 51-ish win rate at the moment. But... I feel like it's kind of... In all honesty, I feel like an Eshir might perform better in a lot of cases. I just feel like if you have Yeonhong with the Gianna, Yeonhong Gianna is crazy strong. Like that, both of them makes it like straight up this. But without it, Yeonhong is just sitting at a 90 for me. That is just the pair of them two is too strong. But without it, doesn't really have crazy good pairings at the moment. I have seen some people actually use Wooyoung, but it's also some kind of very specific cleave. But I do want to actually check what the number is on her at the moment. I do think that she's probably a little bit higher up. Yeah, she's actually pretty high up. 3% pick rate on 52 win rate. That's actually not bad. But it is elevated by a cleave style. But not too bad, not too bad. Yeonhong deserves a buff. I'm not too sure if a 90 unit deserves a buff, but that is my opinion right there. There's a lot more units that could be a little bit more buff. But I definitely think that Yeonhong is fine. I could only agree to Yeonhong slightly up, like maybe 10% high activation rate on her S2. That's the only buff I would give to her, because her S2 is really terrible for activation rate. Just make it a little bit higher in the activation rate on the S2. That's the only change you would have to make it. But yeah, Wooyoung, win rates are definitely representing higher than this, but I'll give it a 70 because you just need the whole shebang on the cleave to actually make it work. Otherwise, it's not that crazy. Moving on to some Pioneers. Pioneers starting off with Chiwu. I actually have been liking myself some fair bit of Chiwu. Mainly because of Chiwu is really good with Zhongxian Lao. That's kind of a thing without the Zhongxian Lao. It's a little bit worse, but it's a good late pick. It's definitely one of those units I recommend people to have a Chiwu runed up because it's very common where it's like, okay, if I get a double strip right now, but I still need my speed lead. Chiwu, perfect thing. And you also need to be speed contesting. Chiwu, perfect thing. If they have 33 lead but no speed contesting units in Swift, Chiwu, perfect thing. Julian kind of low. Julian was sitting at terrible win rate. Julian is just not really worth the runes at the moment. There's better options out there. Moving on next to a Wusa. I haven't seen that much Wusa play, and that represents in the win rates. Wusa, not a big fan of Wusa at the moment. 65 it is. Wunsa, however, I think Wunsa is also, we see a few units kind of clawing back into meta, and that's 51 win rate, 51.5. It is definitely elevated by having multiple LDs, but then again, Wunsa plus Zibala is still really darn strong. So I actually do want to give Wunsa a bit more credit for that, for not having the need of having specific LDs being really needed for it. But Wunsa for speed contesting and everything, it's really strong. Wunsa just has really big issues against Megumi. That is the main thing. But Wunsa is definitely a very solid unit in my opinion. So I'm going to give that 85 right there. Moving on next to some Ifrits. Maybe Pheromones is played. Pheromones is also not played as much at the moment. It's still an okay unit here and there, but 3.5%. Oh, still actually way better than expected. 3.5%, 52 on the pick, high on the ban. Okay, gotta give Pheromones a little bit more credit for that then. I think I'll place Pheromones at 80 then. It's a very strong late pick, however, but well, he actually feels more on the 75 tier, to be honest. Win rates kind of do represent 80-ish, but the pick rate is that low. But the ban rate is that high. I'm gonna put it 75 because I feel like he doesn't fit that many drafts at the moment. I've seen more and more people pick up Tiana, so I do actually want to check what the Tiana win rate is. Kind of lowish. It is also, if we're going full on cleave, this is something, but it's kind of lowish. Light Polar. Light Polar, do we have any place for that one? Wow. Who the hell is cleaving with this shit? And what kind of cleave is that? 53.60% win rate? That is insane. Could you explain the Ragdoll being so high? Ragdoll sitting at 52 win rate with pretty high pick rate, and Ragdoll's just a crazy good unit. Yanghong, Kiara, Draka, Paula Queen, like I told you. Yeah, it's like two of them. True. I feel like it's pretty LD carried as well for the Light Paula Queen. And win rate is sitting crazy high up. I'm gonna give that 80 for that reason. Also, Ragdoll is never bad. You only need one crit for your 24 speed lead units to outspeed a 33 lead, which is just insane for Ragdoll. Plus, since Etna's slowly getting back into mana, Ragdoll becomes a lot more better in meta as well. I was over here. Lydia. Let's see what we have for a Lydia. But I also feel that Ragdoll players still refer back to Ragdoll Prime Time, and anything worse than that is just bad. That is kind of the issue that some Ragdoll players have. This one, not used enough. That is fine. These are not... Maybe a Tetra. Not the biggest fan of Tetra. If you're drafting Tetra, most of the time Veramos does do better, and it does show in the numbers. How would you ruin Ragdoll in 2025? I would go speed, crit damage, attack, and then high substats and everything. And then just super high efficient runes, because no one else uses those runes. Just don't draft him into Sonia's, and don't draft him early. He's a 5th pick. Maybe because he's a 5th pick. 1 down. I feel like he's fair 1 down. Let's drop him 90, otherwise people... If I keep him 92.5, people will complain for sure. So I'll drop it 90. I'll drop it 90. But it's still a very strong 90. Moving on next. Okeanos. I know Okeanos are very high on win rate as well. Yep. Definitely high on the win rates. 52, close to 9% on pick rate. A very substantial, strong unit. Straight up to 92.5. It's not Shiho level because it's not spammed as much. But yeah. His numbers are way better than Zeratul though. Yeah. Maybe I'll 1 down Zeratul as well. Maybe it's just Zeratul's... I feel like Zeratul is that strong when he procs, but I feel like Zeratul also has his fair counters, I guess, ish. Yeah, Zeratul is not doing the craziest in current meta. Let's drop him down to 90 as well. Triton. Is anyone still using Tritons? Well, Triton is also just a poor man's Wunsa. And it's really shown. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. Panthers, though. I could see some Panthers being played here and there. Panthers. Yep, 52 win rate. Not too bad. Pretty high on the ban rate as well. But it's just a 5th picked. Weird kind of stuff. I'll give it a 75-ish. It's like kind of a Veramos kind of thing. Okeanos in 92.5 and Josephine Megumi meta. That's the perfect thing. You make your Okeanos move in front of your Gianna. You reset the Josephine. Like, that is why Okeanos is that great. Moving on next. Triton was not used. Thebae. Ammo Day's favorite unit in game. Let's see how much he's inting with that unit at the moment. Or if it's actually good. Thebae. Okay, 50-50-ish. 51 in the 4v4. Still mostly picked by people for a... what's it called? If they go for some hay gang kind of style, then Thebae later on. Still pretty strong. Yeah, my Gianna. Well, hay gangs or like the Okeanos can still stun before... or reset the Josephine before anything. So that is still there. Plus he has the double hit. The double hit S2 is pretty nice. But this one... I feel like... 70 by best still. 70 by best is what Thebae gets. Even for the good cleaves with him. 70 by best is what he gets. And also most Thebae players are very heavy LD carried on other things, which does help a little bit. Ew, some people told me it's like play Sekhmet. Sekhmet is really good in meta. 64 win rate the moment people leave it into the game. Like, this is where it wins some because like, ooh, it's dangerous. I gotta ban it. Leave it in game, one of the lowest win rates I've seen thus far on the screen. That's kind of horrible. I'll give it 80 by best. Like, 80 for effort. Yeah. Definitely not higher than that. Lower than that, also not, but 80 by best. She doesn't work, yeah. It's just, man, if you're betting your whole game on winning on the S3, man, it's just so ass. Rather than all of the buffs that they did by lowering attack bar, doing this, doing that, if they had a guaranteed land on the S3, she would be good. Like, don't make a 1 rest check, make a 0 rest check. That's it. Like, fuck that shit. Like, if you're drafting her for the sole purpose of not inting you in the first rotation, and she's doing exactly inting you in the first rotation, she just ass. She just hell ass. This thing, yeah, that's definitely not picked. And keep it that way, boys. Do not be picking Hathor. Don't be that guy. Hey, Wadjet. Not a big fan of Wadjet in current meta as well. Very low win rate. 46 win rate, close to 47. 4 on the pick. Wadjet gets a 65 for me these days, man. I feel like this thing is so ass. It doesn't heal enough. It doesn't provide enough boost. It's just doing too little at the moment. We had that one meta where Jet was like off the chart and 105. That was... Do we one up this? I still feel like it might have some value. But then again, he's not really worth the runes. I played on someone's account at that time with a cracked Jet that had like flat stat slot 4, flat stat slot 6. It was doing crazy work. The unit was so stupid. Okay, and what? Definitely not pick that much. Oh, wait, I actually missed 2 Polar Queens. First one is Light, which also kind of, rather than adding extra shit, just needs to be not resisted, but ain't gonna work. Nefty's. Nefty's win rate is low. I kind of expected... I thought Nefty was kind of getting back into meta as well, but 48 win rate is definitely not that crazy. Well, there's the Nobara, and there's all of that kind of good stuff right now, so... But I still think a Nefty's should be run on Swift. Nefty should be not on Violent. And actually, Obabo did lose one of his matches. He had a gang move, then the enemy team moved, and then his Vio unit on Nefty's moved. I'm like, if you were Swift, if you go Swift, 190 on Swift, anyone can make. 190 on Vio, you have to struggle to get those runes, and she's definitely not worth that. But a good Swift set, and then going for the Silence, which can miss. Okay, 1 down for the missing opportunity. But yeah, Nefty's, it's still... I definitely always have it ruined up on Swift. She's definitely always potential for being something like, yo, you gotta keep that one ruined and keep it in tune right after your Hey Gang. Don't have any gap in that, so therefore she's definitely a Swift unit. That you remember all of those details, I have pretty substantial memory for random shit. Okay, Samas, 52 win rate. I guess it's the Rage Samas, or maybe it's just the Cleave Samas. I still don't feel much more for the Samat than a 75. Nefty's missed the Silence for you on Valaju instead deep rune. I had that on the freaking Chimera. I silenced everything except the Chimera. Well, you know how that one is gonna work out. But yeah, Samat, 75. I feel like if you go for the pure Rage build on the Samat, I preferably do that on the Moor. Moor does more damage, and Moor does have a potential to move right after Joe Guns and mess up the attack bar or do anything with Despair. So I definitely prefer to have high damage set on a Moor rather than a Samath in current meta, but that's my opinion. Math deck is nice if the enemy has like no HP whatsoever and just a full-on cleave, and then you clap the whole cleave, but then again, would still rather do that with a Moor. Let's see Deafness. Actually, Deafness is one of those units I never really used, and it's not used as much. Ganymede. I low-key feel like Ganymede is not that bad in current meta. It's just the big issue that there's always someone better to do his job rather than that, so he barely gets any play. But low-key, if you're going for like Jogun Ganymede, Songsheng Lao, or Jogun Ganymede Okeanos, those are strong combos though. Those are definitely strong combos. It's just that he's having a little bit too little damage output himself, whereas an Okeanos has a lot more damage output while CCing. Misty. I feel like Misty's slightly drifting out of meta. It's not being used as much anymore. 8% pick rate, still good on the win rate. Definitely don't get me wrong, but you don't see it as much anymore. Not really sure. Unfair for Nyx. Oh, wait. Yeah, I missed the Nyx and Oberon. We'll do that later. Do we give that a 90 or do we give that an 85 her? No, that's worth a 90. Those are some 90 numbers right there. Misty still 90. Let's check out Nyx, the most inconsistent weird unit in game, but can be really good. Nyx win rate is just 50, 51-ish, 50.5, 12% on the pick rate. I feel like Nyx, it's also really depending on where do you pair it with. I feel like Nyx, the main value that he has is that he's banned a lot. He's definitely one of the higher banned units in game, I think. If we scroll down over here, okay, it's not that high on 20%, but I'll give Nyx an 85. I feel like Nyx is 85 value with amount of picks, amount of bans, and that kind of stuff, so. It's still one of those units, if you have certain LDs to pair with it, it makes it a little bit stronger, but then again, he's still by the luck of the chance for a lot of things. And he's definitely not a ragdoll passive. It's like, oh, you're gonna get barred. No, you're gonna get barred by chance. It's like making ragdoll, you get bar, but 50% of the crits, not all of them. It's like, eh? Oberon. maybe some Zibala players or Yeonhong players that might be leaning towards an Oberon. Should not be that far down, right? Yep. Okay. They don't. Fair. Molong! I have seen a recent Molong. It was some kind of weird Swift Cleave-ish kind of thing. Not the biggest fans of Molong, but I feel like in the right draft at the right moment might be thing. Nick's pony is unfair. You still need RNG. Nick's carried SWC though. You still need RNG. Like, that's the thing. Moving on next to an Unfair Bear. Is that even used? Unfair Bear is actually used. Still not a big fan of that. I feel like he's not really having the meta where he fits that well or that often, but let's just give him a 70. He feels a little bit more usable than the others. Tiang Lang. I feel like Tiang Lang in current meta is super strong because Megumi still being very strong. One of the higher bands, 52 on the win rate, 12.5 on the pick rates. So that is going straight to here. Is he as good as a Songshang Lao and stuff, and Laura and Gianna? I feel not. Because it's just less usable. Like, this is very spammable. And it has better win rate. Same for all of them. No, I feel like 95. Don't get me wrong, Tian Lang is very, very good. But because he's less spammable, and the S2 is very low on rates, even the S1, you could have like skill 1, additional turn skill 1, and you still end up with no armor break. Like, that happened too often to me. So, yeah, I feel like that he's that. He's more about the passive, yeah. More the passive and then actually trying to get additional damage stuff. So, yeah, I agree. 95 is a good number for him. Don't get me wrong, 95 is very darn strong. Miying definitely fell down through the nerf. And also the meta not being as stun heavy, I guess, ish. Well, mainly the nerf. The nerf on him is very noticeable, yeah. 47 win rate, that's really low. I felt like that the nerf wasn't that big on him, but the nerf by numbers feels a lot stronger. Still gonna put him 75 though. All 95 plus need a nerf. Yeah, it's possible. While this one already had a nerf, this one had 16 nerfs and is still there. This one got a nerf. This one actually got buffed. But that is a more recent buff. Ranuki. Do people still play the good old Ranuki? I definitely do think so. Ranuki shouldn't be that far down. Yep, 3% pick rate, 50 on the win rate. Not bad numbers for a good old Ranuki. I'll give it an 80 though. Ranuki Hwaring is OP. Yeah, mainly that. Like, if you have the Hwaring, he definitely goes up. If you don't have the Hwaring, he's just like, can be used here and there. I actually ruined up a decent Ranuki, and I actually feel myself never drafting that shit though. Is he still done 80? Is challenge mode counted towards the win rates? Nope. Otherwise, Gianna will be way lower because Gianna is the top 3 lowest win rate in Challenge Arena. Can you imagine that for being a second of highest tier unit in here, being the top 3 lowest unit, lowest win rate unit in there? Was maybe you forced in certain drafts where it's just not good, and the build on it is kind of ass compared to some other builds. So you have those 2 factors in there. Moving on next to some ponies. Definitely Amelia's not used, but I do expect Helena to have a little bit of pick rates here and there. Mostly Heigang players or Leo players. Win rates, kind of ass. Actually very ass. For a 5th pick, very ass. You get a 70 by best in that case. Diana, I still like myself a good Diana pick because of the She-Hose, because of a whole bunch of other things. Also don't have to strip to continuous damage right now. But then it's still by chance. We do not always like those chances. 51 to 52 win rate, not bad. 6% on the pick. Definitely not bad numbers to end up, in my opinion, on an 80. Helena, 95 for fun. Yeah, Diana, I definitely feel like 80. It's not picked as much, but if you draft her at the right moment, it's nasty. Okay, now the really big question. Light Pony. Where do I place the Light Pony? Because in my opinion, she's only good if you're heavy sec. And win rates on that, well, it's actually pick rate is not that high. Win rate is pretty substantial, but the pick rate is pretty low. Also, in the 4v4, she is lowering on win rate. So that does mean she's respected more than she actually does win for by a whole 1%. Let's see where I do want to place it. I feel like if you nerf Light Pony, she's gonna become so bad. Because now it's just the RNG that makes her good-ish. It's good for the Sekos, yeah. I feel like she's strong. But do I feel like any stronger than 90? I actually kind of almost feel like she's 85. I really feel like she gets overvalued by the RNG moments she has. But in stable global moments, she's not even picked that often. That's kind of the back and forth I have on that one. I'm gonna place her 90. Because I think she's kind of like Ragdoll-ish level. Ban rate is pretty high, yeah. But that's the thing. The moment she's not banned, she actually lowers in win rate. So that's a skill issue right there. But I'll give that a 90. The pivots are... Well, the biggest issue is what a lot of people... a Misty destroys her. Like, no. If you think a Misty gets fucked by Pony, absolutely not. If the Pony is in human form, Misty 2 hits her. Like, the thing is, you lose so much HP. You lose half of your HP the moment you're in human form. She dies to, like, a lot of hits. So that is definitely a big counter that a lot of people are not utilizing. Oh, you bring Misty Pony? Okay, if you bring both, maybe. But that's a lot of things that people are not utilizing. In human form, she's super squish. And that is, and the HP or the speed that she gets in return for that, it's like near to nothing. I don't even know how much it is, but it's near to nothing. Huarang, together with Huarang, she's pretty busted. Yeah. But together with Huarang, lots of things are busted. Like, together with the strongest unit on the pile, everything is busted. Moving on next, Tablo. I have seen some people play Tablo once again. Is it actually good? 50 win rate, but not that crazy. But we see it used a little bit. Once again, one of those units, if you use the whole pile for it, it's kind of okay-ish. Without it, mwah. Celia, I don't even have to check. Vivachel. I think Vivachel is one of the highest overrated LDs in game at the moment. Your Vivachel is not bad. Oh, Alexandra. I'll do Alexandra in a sec. I don't even think she has 2% pick rate in current meta. But I was talking to Thompson. Thompson was like the most happy about like Vivachel ever. I feel like Vivachel, you have so many off turns on Vivachel where it's like, I don't really want S3. I don't really want S3. Once again, I don't really want S3. Sure, good bolt on it is a 100 resistance, 100 crit rate, but then you get kind of squishy as well. Is it really worth your fastest Swift set only if you cleave? So, yeah, I don't know. I think she's good. I think she's definitely very solid, but I think she is overrated, though. Like, people make her look as like, yo, it's the best unit. You got to pick it from your SWC rate up things. In my opinion, I was like, no, I way rather put a Ragdoll in there. But that is kind of opinion-based, but I do feel her on the 90. On the 90 value is kind of fair for her, I think. Alexandra. Alexandra. I'm pretty sure she's not picked as much in current meta. She doesn't really feel for the current meta that much. No, she's just not picked that much. Can work here and there, but no. Nick's kind of better than Viva. Would we say so? Would we one up the Knicks? No, I think we one up the Knicks. I think it's fine. Knicks, if it works, it's still really strong. So I'll give it the value, the if it works value. Let's put it on 90 for that reason. Moving on next. Josephine. Fucking shit unit. Shit unit is sitting at a 51 win rate, being the highest second unit in game. How many? You are like top 10-ish. Like, this is for number 8 most picked unit in game, 51 win rate. She is arguably on point with win rate and pick rate of fucking Gianna. That's how fucking stupid Josephine is. 95. Straight up. She counters pretty much stunner. She counters all of them. Okay, maybe this one not as much, but yeah. Josephine is very strong in current meta. Straight up 95. It's not more than 95, but definitely 95. Leona, 100% not picked. I've seen some more people pick up Belios again. It is not as common. It's definitely more against the wild cleavers that you find out there that you smack in a Belion and he's crazy good. Outside of that, you're not using it as much. Okay, what the fuck is that win rate? 54? 4% pick rate? Okay, I guess that's one of the best 5th picks you can make. Everyone should still have an Abelio ruined up. Straight up to 80. It's just a 5th pick, so I don't want to put it any higher than that. But that is a very solid win rate for a 5th pick. I would almost argue I'm going to one-up that for that. Like, that win rate is absolutely absurd. So it's definitely one of those units. Not spammable, but in the right counter pick, definitely do counter pick that. Nah, it feels kind of weird for being that low on pick rate to be picked over there. 80 it is. Moving on next to its Fire Brother. Pretty sure that's never used. Way too many other options out there. Yep, Volantis. Even though Volantis did get the speed buff and is easy to build on Despair right now, Volantis is... You have to build it on Despair, but he's not worth the Despair runes, whereas you have so many units that you want to rune on Despair at the moment. You want your Heigangs, you want your Laylas, you want your Dish, you want your Dead, your Chakra's good on Despair as well. Junos, whatnot, too many good Despair units, so he's just having the issues of not having enough speed, and therefore not being runed up enough. But a good Volantis at the good draft, still very strong. It's just hard to have him ruined up, so 75 for that. Pader though. Pader preferably is moving in front of your team, but I've seen some people have good success without that. Pader's actually low on win rate. What the fuck? I felt like Pader would definitely do better. His win rate is representing absolute ass, but I still, maybe as a Gianna owner, I give a little bit more credits to it. Maybe he has issues with Joe Gunn. Like, I can definitely see him having issues with Joe Gunn, though. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Really strong, but I never lose it. Yeah, same kind of here. Like, there's very few Paders that actually do enough damage, are fast enough. I think he's just too hard to rune. That's the main issue. Like, you want a lot of damage on him, but also, if it is a long fight, he lowers damage because he's HP scaling, so... I'm gonna give that 80. Yeah, Shia also puts Pader in front, and then it gets awkward turn. Yeah, there's too many ways to give him an awkward turn. I guess so, yeah. Bolvric. I do still like myself some Bolvrics because of Light Pony being good, Josephine being good. Only issue is if your Bolvric is perma-stunned by Josephine. That's something, but Bolvric from time to time... Okay, in the 4v4 it's actually doing kind of bad. More value in the draft than value on the match, but I still give myself a Bolvric 75. Also, Geldnir. We've seen a few Geldnirs in SWC, and they were actually on the value of like, yo, you're not getting anything anytime soon. Not being put white. The win rate is 64 in the 4v4. That's just fucking insane. It's definitely not picked that much, but I think people should be more picking up Geldnir more. So I'm definitely going to be placing Geldnir in. I will 75 him though, but I definitely do think more people should pick up their Geldnir if they're fighting a heavy buff team. And with Josephine out there, you definitely have some heavy buffs already. If you're playing a light pony, they don't want to switch anytime. So there's a lot of buff potentials out there. Geldnir is actually, more people should be picking up Geldnir, so I definitely want to give Geldnir some credit. Moving on next. Ooh, got some Christina. Used to be the biggest meme unit of the game. Currently is actually used mainly by Valeska players. But outside of Valeska players is still having some usage as well. Not the highest of win rate. 49 win rate, 5-ish% pick rate. It's not a bad unit. It is just a 5th pick for most though. I'm gonna give that 75. The win rate is a little bit too low for her to give her any more credit than this. I think if you have Valeska, she definitely goes up, but without the Valeska play, 75 is all she gets from me. Bella. After the new Bella buff, I am very curious about her win rate. I don't think she will be placed in. I think she will be on too little pick rate. I definitely do think she's kind of ass if she doesn't have speed buff, attack buff, and that kind of good stuff. But yeah, barely played. Very barely played. If you play her, she definitely needs to have like the attack buff, speed buff kind of shenanigans. Then it's good. Otherwise, nah. Lucifer. Lucifer is also mainly the cleave shenanigans. Without the cleave shenanigans, not as great. Oh, he's actually very high up. Wow, okay, what? There's a lot of Lucifer. Okay, that maybe explains the Abellio plays being that high up as well, because Abellio really claps Lucifer players. 50 win rate on 5.2 pick rate. That's a lot higher pick rate than I expected. But once again, need the whole shebang of the cleave. Otherwise, it's kind of in the mid. So I'm going to give that a 75 for that reason. Dark Demon, though. I've been recently starting to like Dark Demon a little bit more. And rather than going for attack or like going for attack bar on revive, I started playing this dude on speed lost HP, attack lost HP. Which is actually very nasty because then your S2 gives you more speed. Your S2 gives you more attack. Which is actually a way where he's feeling a lot better rather than going for... It's also for a Dark Demon being 666 is fucking insane, though. that is actually a very good call right there. But yeah, he's actually... I've been starting to like him a little bit more. It's just the issue I cannot draft him next to the Tian Lang, because he's hard inting that. Ban rate is pretty high. Does he go up? No, he does not go up in the win rate when he's picked. He actually goes down in the win rate. So he has more issues with the matches than the actual draft. He is a very strong 5th. But yeah, it's also super awkward if something procs or he just doesn't get his turn. Those kind of things are definitely there. But in the right draft, he's definitely strong. But I'll give it an 80. Maybe if you put very good runes to it and you still have good old artifacts because you need those old artifacts, then he becomes 85. But since you cannot farm those artifacts anymore, it is very ass. Like, that's the main thing. So, because all of the artifacts you can farm right now are not possible, or like all the artifacts he needs, he's 80. No, wait, because of all of the artifacts you can no longer get, he becomes 80. If you have old artifacts, he's 85. So I give that value, because right now a lot of people don't have those artifacts anymore, and you cannot farm those anymore, and that is ass. That is actually something I should have asked Comtus, like, what, like, let us or allow us to put what we farm in artifacts ourselves, or something like that. Barbara, I've been yapping for long enough. How long have we been yapping already? We've been yapping for an hour. The hour mark has been reached. Okay, Barbara's not played. Sure, move on to the next. Masha. Masha's definitely strong. Ooh, I expected more of Masha. 49 win rate, 8% pick rate. I definitely recommend a lot of players that play a lot of debuffs to play more Masha, because it's a super strong counter against Nobara. But it's not showing the highest of win rates, though. I think 85 is kind of fine. I was more feeling a little bit higher, but 85 is kind of fine on there. Definitely highly recommend go Wilner. Do not go Nemesis. Nemesis in current state of the game is just issues. I'd actually called it out in the last one as well. I've seen a few more people pick up Savannah. Savannah, Loki is not bad. Like, if you're playing... Yeah, if she's in the 4v4. If you're playing those Shiho kind of things, and a Sierra and an Oliver and all of those kind of things, having an outspeed plus a Sav, just a Swift Bolt is totally fine. It is actually pretty strong. But since it's not played that much, I'm just going to give that a 70. But if you want to build her Swift. Don't go Vio. She's not really worth the Vio runes. Narsha, also kind of on the edge. Is she really worth the Vio runes? Yeah, not really the best of metas for Narsha as well. Even the good old Narsha players are not playing her as much, so I'll give that 70 for that. And I think Sienna's barely even played. I was actually tempted to rune up a Sienna again, but the draft of Sienna is like, you have to land your debuffs and all together. It's actually not that bad. I think she's kind of same level, all three of them. Yeah, I think for all three of them, you need ungodly runes to make them work. Like Narsha for sure, but the other two as well, you need really good runes to make them work, and they're not really worth those good runes at the moment. Hey Gang, pretty sure I can find Hey Gang in the 5th most picked unit in game. Win rate is actually terribly low. That's one of the lowest win rates for high picked units. But then again, Hey Gang is still Hey Gang, 92.5. Even with a crazy low win rate, Hey Gang has so much potential to counter good things and pair with other strong things that Hey Gang just has value. Issue is that Hey Gang is just overspammed. And because it's overspammed, it's often the big issue for Hey Gang draft is you're lacking damage. And because you lack damage, it's just ass. That's just the main thing. But 92.5 definitely does feel. What the fuck is that, a Chroma pick rate? Or a Chroma sitting at like 1% pick rate on like 48 win rate. That's not that OP in current meta. Too many multi-hitters. Moving on next to a Joe Gunner. Joe Gun, straight to the 95er. No doubt about that. Yeah, it's a bit lower on the win rate and pick rate than the Shiho, but it is still, especially in tournament play, some people opt to pick this over that. So I think that is... Joe Gun is still very fair and very strong. Plus the S2 is really good against bruisers, because Scroll Trap just crazy long. I'm curious to see if people pick up some Chunk Pong these days. Still not a bad unit. It's just not really finding... Yeah, okay, 51 win rates, 2% pick rate. It's not bad. I think more people should pick this up as well. I feel like the Chunk Pong, especially if you're drafting the double AoE strip or just Joe Gun plus Chunk Pong, and you're not fighting too much fire, still really strong unit with the cooldown resets. armor breaks, all of that kind of good stuff. Can do good damage himself as well, so has good value to it. Let's check Hanwoo. No, never mind. I don't even want to look at that unit. Moving on to a Mukwo. Nope, no Mukwo. Then we moved on to Moor. Moor is definitely coming back into meta, also for the Rage build. Win rate not the craziest, but I guess Moor is the most all-round unit in game, because outside of Despair, Vio, and Swift, you can also build it Rage. And I think there's not a single unit that fits on all 3 builds, plus also Rage. But I feel like he's 85. His win rate is not really representing like crazy success, but he's still picked enough where, and he's first pick potential, he's still doing good. More is try. Douglas. Highest banned unit in game. I did already see there was 2.6% pick rate, or 2.2. Win rate is kind of horrible though, especially if he's let through in the match. His win rate is kind of horrible. And I've noticed it myself as well. A Zhongsha Lao even fucks up a Douglas. It's stupid. Like there's a lot of units that Josephine fucks them up, Shio fucks it up, Bombs fucked it up, this thing kind of fucks up because of attack buff. So Douglas is not really finding his strength in the current meta, but good Douglas pick at the right moment is still pretty strong. Talisman, looking at some cleavers. Do we have some strong cleavers? I think it shouldn't be that far down. Yep. 42. Ew. That's horrible. From all of the cleaves, he's doing by far the worst. I'm surprised about that. Well, I feel like most of the other cleave units kind of do cleave and then also do something else. This one just does the damage. And therefore, he's not good enough, I guess. I don't know. I kind of felt more on him as well. But it's fine on that rating right there. Do people still use a Van Cleef? After 1 million buffs, Van Cleef is looking at okay-ish win rate, but still too low pick rate, so I'm just not going to place it in because I haven't seen that unit for dear life. Talisman dies more often, like a Rage, more Rage Smith. That is very true. That's actually a really good good observation right there. Let's look at Carnal. Carnal is sitting at 49 to 50-ish win rate, 13 on the pick. Definitely not bad. I'm personally not a big fan of those Carnal first picks. We have been starting to see a good bit more of them again. Personally not a big fan, but if it can work, it works. It's a lot of Carnal players are Nyx players though. Like that's definitely a... Nyx Carnal makes Carnal a lot better, but Carnal by itself can still be pretty substantial, decent. We have been seeing a bit more Cigars as well. Cigar's not doing good. And that's also the thing. If you miss your Cigar S3, your cooldown is way too long to get it back. But this win rate's 46 is the lowest win rate we have seen so far on any of the units with decent pick rates. So I'll give that 75-ish. Greg, I will definitely check out Greg. I've seen more and more people play pretty substantial, pretty strong with Greg. 51 win rate. Okay, it's mainly good in the 4v4. It's often banned out, but 5% pick rate. I do think you need multiple LDs to make Greg actually really good. But I'll give that a 75. I feel like that's not bad numbers. And actually want to one down you because fuck you. Do we one up that? No, I feel like if you have multiple LDs to pair with Greg, he definitely goes 80, 85-ish. But otherwise, 75 is totally fine on him. Gurkha. I feel Gurkha's somewhat underrated. Gurkha's just the issue is like, would you die to a bunch of S1s? If you don't die to the S1s, you're good. But it's not showing anything. Shizuka, another very high hated unit of mine. How are you doing right now? Win rate, not that crazy good. 48-ish, 10%-ish pick rate. Not the worst, but I'll give you a 70. Nah, I'm gonna give you an 80. 80 seems fair. Tomoe. I haven't seen too much Tomoe. I feel like people have different options. Did they actually put in the Fire Jennifer? Oh, I did not pick in the Fire Jennifer. Is she actually used enough? Is below 2% pick rate, so I don't have to place it in. Plus, her win rate's absolutely horrible, so I don't have to. Haha. I would argue that if she was in there, I would have placed her in there, but I don't. What the fuck is... Okay, Tomoe is definitely not used in this thing anymore. That is fine. I did not like Tomoe. Same as I don't like Gyu. Why is one family with all hated units? 45 win rate on the Gyu. I love to see that. Fuck Gyu. Well, actually, as Tier Lang player, playing into Gyu was fun, but... Gyu, 70. Seimei. Most boring unit in game, just a passive totem, but a very strong passive totem. 51 win rate, 5-ish% pick rate. Definitely not too bad. I feel like some people overrate her as well, but it's just, if you're fighting her, don't land debuffs. If your whole team lands too many debuffs, you gotta ban her. Like, that's just the thing. Ban rate 42. Is that one of the highest ban rates out there? I think you kind of... Yeah, number 3 on the ban rate. That's pretty substantial. Oh, that's actually in the 4v4. How does that work? Because Douglas was higher. Okay, she's like 6th-ish or so. Interesting to see that Adriana is one of the highest as well. But yeah, I feel like Seimei, good old 85. I don't really value her more than 85. But 85 is good. Dumon. Dumon doesn't have her meta as well. She was more good into the Gapso kind of meta where there's a lot of healing going on. And bruisers and Angelas and whatnot. But still, in the right moment, good pick. But just the right moment is not that often. So we're going to give that 80 for not being picked as much. Kinky. Oh, I haven't seen a Kinky in ages, to be honest. But also my draft doesn't really allow a Kinky to be drafted, I guess. Yeah, in its right moment, it's still good. I just want to see Onmyouji for the sake of it. But I think Onmyouji is going to be doing really horrible. I would be surprised if it's even doing anything at all. Oh, okay. Pleasantly surprised. 52 to 53 win rate, 2-ish% pick rate. That is... Onmyouji is doing better than expected. It is somewhat of the hard stun meta, and maybe therefore he finds a little bit of a spot, but I'm not sure about him neither. I would still give him a 75, though. If you have a good one ruined up, you have some armor breaks, purely Lucifer, Secret Cleavers. Yeah, and maybe so, maybe so. I'll still give him 75 on that. It's not the worst. Let's move on next to Nana. Talking about units that kind of left the meta. Nana. 44% win rate on Nana. Holy fucking Reno. People are trying to counter Sonia's, but then you revive with like way too low HP and Nana's just shit. Do you guys remember when Nana was sitting at like 55 win rate? It's been a long time. That was SWC 2024. No, wait, not 24. 21. Yeah, 21. Actually, the season I played the best. But yeah, Nana's absolutely not her. 2021, I was legitimately first picking Nana. She was giving revives for like 70%. She was insane. That was a good year for me. Coco. Don't really expect too much of Coco. I tried some Coco myself, but it's just not really feeling it. Same for Kiki, probably. More of a siege unit than anything. Yep, not placed. Miles. Also a unit I haven't seen all too much. Miles. 4% pick rate, 51 on the win rate. It's not that bad, but I feel like it's kind of struggling his position and that kind of stuff. Do we need Neftis and Pontus buff? You could give a buff to them, but it's not really a need factor. But then again, come to us at buffing is also like, we buff Malong! And another Grogan buff. Okay, John, definitely not played. Oliver. Most hated unit in a game. Which is actually his... He is in 50% of the matches, and he's sitting at a 50.54 on the win rate. His statistics are absolutely off the chart. He has double the amount of pick rate of Gianna, and he's still setting it the same win rate. That is absolutely absurd. Loki, in all honesty, what do you guys say? Like, his pick rate is way too high for that amount of win rate. I feel like Oliver is still the pivotal point for a lot of drafts, and I feel like Oliver is by far strongest first pick. I feel like Oliver at 100 is fair. He's just doing so stupidly much. We have been calling it for such a long time, 24 lead on him. Let's see what happens. Nerf him back to storage. Fun fact is, when Oliver was absolutely shit, Oliver got 0 to heroed. at some point I did like a balance patch prediction video, and I was like, I have no clue what to do with this unit. Might as well give it speed lead. Well, they did. And 3 more other buffs. Jeez. Not seen too much at SWC. That is kind of true, though. That is actually low-key kind of true, where Oliver was not picked as much in SWC. But then again, I would still feel like if we're checking the numbers over here, it is just... every quadrant, it's just like straight up Oliver, Oliver, Oliver is most picked. Win rate a little bit lower, though. But yeah, definitely strong call. It was seen less in SWC. Maybe the Magoomer was something about that. There were some main Magoomer players, such as Pooh and stuff. But then again, Oliver's still really darn strong. Moving on next, Daniel. Did get a few buffs as well. Still needs a little bit too much setup to get all the way. But it's also at this point, if you start making Daniel strip into pushback, he becomes way too strong. So it's also, what can you really add to him? Win rate is showing high numbers though, but very low on the pick rate. Let's check out Jackson. I feel like Jackson, mainly next to the buffed, what's it called? Quilling Slasher. It's really strong, but without that kind of ass. Dialang a bit lower? No, I feel like Dialang is fine at this. Megumi is just annoying. Megumi is annoying. Megumi is actually more annoying than he's strong, weirdly enough. Do we actually still play Robos? I don't think so. Numbers say Robos are still kind of played-ish. I would say Wind one kind of feels off. Maybe the Dark one, but that's more Han-based players anyways. Dark one has a little bit more value, but that's also just a little bit. I'm also curious about the light one, but that's just full-on cleave. Like, only full-on cleavers use that shit. Yeah, and even then, it's not really doing that great. But I want to put it in. Full-on cleave ones. Pop. Dialang is so OP, it ends up countering your own draft. That's kind of true in some... I have that mainly if I draft Dialang and I want to draft the Dark Demon. I'm like, yeah, it comes back with 50. That's ass. Like, that's a guaranteed death. That makes the whole passive useless. Riley. We have seen some more Rileys being picked up. 50-ish% win rate, 2% pick. Nothing too crazy, but worth a good 75. Nora and these two, definitely not Maya, not Ella, however. Ella used to be in very specific kind of teams until people know it's like, I can actually smack Ella in like 4th, 5th pick in about everything, and it's actually low-key really good. So where's this Totemist looking goofy-ass thing? Okay, it's actually low on the win rate. Used to be high on win rate. 49, but still, maybe people kind of figured out how to clear it, but still, good 80. Good 80. Yeah, Riley is actually played, I think, mainly because of APEC with Pooh playing like 200 speed kind of thing. So, bye guys. How you doing, my man? Carlos. Carlos is in one of those weird spots that if you full glance at Sonya, you don't even kill it. Yeah, that's kind of the Carlos issue right there. It's trying to counter one thing, but it's just not really doing that great. Juggernaut is hurting Ella. True. Yeah, it's good against turn 2, but there's not that many turn 2 players right now. Carlos, I feel like he's trying too hard countering something he just doesn't. Dominic, ooh, I haven't seen Dominic in ages. I legitimately forgot about this unit. Okay, too low pick rate. Win rate is not that bad, though. Maxi, I think Maxi win rate at the moment is not that bad. 50. 51 or 52-ish, almost in the 4v4. Wow, damn, that's definitely a good unit for his draft right there. Maxi's triple S. Maxi's very hard driven on other LDs as well. I think that's definitely a Maxi thing right there. He's super hard driven on other LDs. Without the other LDs, he's not that great. So because of that, I'm going to give him 75. And he also needs very specific speed sets, the whole shebang, everything. So I still feel like the whole draft around this is just, oh, hey gang, fucks up the whole thing. Shio fucks up the whole thing. Athna fucks up the whole thing. Sonya fucks up the whole thing. Megumi fucks up the whole thing. We have 4 units super hard countering that shit. So can I give it any more credits for that then? No, let's actually give it 80. I feel like 80 is fair on that. Minato. Does that unit play anything? I played a Minato the other day. It resisted my Miles twice, and then I got fucked. Fun unit. 52 win rate is definitely not that bad. Mostly 100 res. Chroma 95. No, Zeisas, we want to get a Chroma buff, not nerf. Zeisas, calm down, calm down. Minato at the right play. An 80 is fine. A Chroma is actually doing kind of bad. It's not really the Chroma meta that much, but good at Chroma can still do strong. Do we one up the Chroma? Yeah, fuck it, we one up the Chroma. I like my Chroma too much. Moving on next. It's just not really the meta for it. Too many multi-hits. Multi-hits really fuck up the Acroma. Acroma needs higher HP, lower defense. Would be nice. Shun. One of the weirdest, shittiest units in game. If you miss, you do absolutely nothing. Well, there's a lot of units kind of like that, but 37. Yeah, that's ass. That's ass. Don't use that. Ritsu, also after 16 million buffs. After 60 million buffs, are we used yet? Ritsu. Nope. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Amber. Do we actually... I've been drafting a bit of Amber. It's always been banned though, but... Oh, apparently Amber not that great. I was expecting more of Amber. If you need like a hard contesting heal block, it's really strong. Let's check Sonya. I think Sonya is one of the higher units as well. Wait, funny enough, if Sonya is banned, the win rate is like 1.5% higher than when she's in the match. Well, to be honest, I kind of play Sonya like that as well. I just drop in Sonya even though my Sonya is shit. And it's just like, okay, please ban it. So that is definitely the value of Sonya right there. But still very substantial, strong units. I don't give her 95 value though. Or do I? Sub X, I doing? 95 or 92.5? She's definitely showing way more stats than this. No, I still give her 95. You need a good Sonya to make that work on 95 though, but she's just... The ban value on this is too crazy high, and she's so often a must ban, so 95 on that is fine. Veronica, I think she is still pretty strong. Definitely nowhere near primetime strong, but still decent. She definitely has the issue of missing her shit though. Like if she did miss her shit, then it's bad, it's bad. But if she does land her shit though, she's good. I give it 85 value. I think she's still pretty strong. Is mainly strong with like a Okeanos or a Zhongcheng Lao though, but... Yeah, it's one of those things, like you could say about Nyx, like if he doesn't land, he's ass, but if he does land... And it's, I would say, Nyx is better than Veronica. That is definitely true. That is absolutely true. But then you ban Megumi or full attack bar. Yeah, true, but you can also reset it. It's just... Veronica, the biggest issue for Veronica is just landing her shit. That's just really the big issue. But I feel like she's fine at the 80 right there. Destiny definitely not used. Gingerwave not used. These not used. Some people were picking Audrey. It was perma stunt. It didn't do jack shit. But the right Audrey at the right timing, I still kind of like that unit. If we can find it. Right over there. Definitely not picked. Barely picked. Giselle. I haven't seen Giselle in RTA in ages as well. Too many strips. Too many resets. Too many everything going on where it's just not that interesting of a unit. Yeah, not really. Okay, moving on towards puddings. And definitely Adriana is played. Mainly just cleavers, actually just cleavers only. So cleavers only, we'll place that at 75-ish. Yeah, 75 is fine. Don't really give it more value than that. Wait, I have to... Yep, this one. Lucia, though. It is still a strong Oliver counter, so I definitely do like to play that into Oliver from time to time. Funny enough, if it's let through in the match, it's so much higher on the win rate. It's actually interesting. I think she's really good. I think more people should pick her up. Triple revenge and actually make her speedy so she gets some turns and super high HP because her HP is scaling. And then you want to give her additional damage by HP. Yeah, it's the Joken meta definitely makes her a bit more difficult to play. But if you're just playing Olivers and then other AoEs, Also, if you play Oliver into Laura, into Light Gojo kind of stuff, she becomes very interesting. Do we want downer? Nah, it's too little play. 75 for too little play. Angela, though. Definitely a bit more play. Definitely not crazy strong in current style, I would say. Well, actually, 50. 50 is not bad. 8% pick rate. Actually better than expected. So that's definitely a 1 up from that. Did we go 2 up? She's kind of having win rate-ish of, yeah, 85 definitely makes sense on there. Subfruit. And then we have that dark thing, definitely not used. Sipala is making a bit of a comeback as well. Mainly wound sub players though. Outside of that, not that much. And then Violent Sipala. Or also Laura slash Gojo. Yeah, there's actually a few units, but it's mainly LD driven though. You have to have a Laura or a Light Gojo or a... You can do it with a Jogun, but it's a lot worse. But I see some Sibalas kind of shine. Mainly Vio nowadays, but... 50 is what I give that on 80. Or do I want down that? No, I feel like Sipala is kind of fine. Zima, that's a unit I haven't seen in a bit. Also, big issue with landing its shits. Same for Smicer, have definitely not seen that one in a bit. Shouldn't be that far down though. Yep, it's over here. Yep, definitely not that much picked. Kovaci, also not too much Kovaci plays. Oh, still 9%. It's more than expected. It's just 50 on the win rate. That's not too bad. All your units are 90 plus, you're trash. Why? Because we knew that already. You didn't have to say that. Kovaci, definitely 85 value. I don't really feel like it's a 90 value to me. Like, sure, it has some strong pairs, but it's not as much for... the current meta where I would say like, wow, this is crazy. Plus he's on an awkward speed thing to put it on Swift. It's an awkward speed thing to put it on Vio, so you have to go Swift, but then Swift fast set, he's not really worth it. Let's say Zenisek. Zenisek has a really big issue with the anti-cleansers of Zhongcheng Lao and Layla at the moment. Yep. Yep, very noticeable. Plus into Jogun, also not that good, because you kind of want to go Vio Revenge. And you have to go for very fast runes, so he's definitely having a few issues in his draft. I still feel like it's really strong. In the end, it's one of the units, Pafix picked it up and hella killed Ismo with it. Ismo had no answer to it. But then again, Ismo was playing super hard on the Gianna and those kind of things, so therefore it really messed him up. But Zenny is really strong, but there's too many anti-cleansers to have him super crazy, but I still give it an 80. It's just a big issue on him right now that you want to make him fastest on Vio, but then he needs pretty good substantial Fire runes and Revenge runes to actually get there, which makes him a little bit awkward, but still, I feel like an 80 is good on him. Burkhild. If we're talking about units completely out of the meta right now, I haven't seen Burkhild play in ages. And I love to play against Burkhild. It's just like, oh, you're Burkhild, my Tialeng becomes your Burkhild. But then again, definitely not used as much. Sigrid, favorite unit of Olufia, favorite unit of Neff. But is it that great right now? It is big though. It is picked. Definitely not the biggest of fans of it. I'll give it a 75. It feels better than like a Widget. After that, Kiara. Oh no, wait, not Kiara. Federica. Haven't been using too much Federica lately. Oh, that's the wrong Federica. You, Federica. Yeah, it's not really working. It's not really working. Well, you unit 75. Hey, it happens, man. It happens. It's the luck of the try. Federica. I'm feeling like Federica's kind of ass-ish. Still can be a decent counter, but it's just lacking damage in, like... He scammed you, the base should be 105. Press X to doubt. Let's see for Kiara. I think Kiara's just boosted by Yan Hong, if it's even played. Oh, even the Yan Hong players can make the shit work. Wait. If you leave it into the match, she drops 4%. Almost, no, wait, she drops 5% win rate? If you play against her rather than banning it? That is the biggest drop I've seen so far. That is insane. Yo, shit unit. Even with a Yeon Hong, it's pretty ass. Yeah, no, she gets a 75. And she's also played with just like the one spam comp, and apparently the one spam comp isn't even good. These two definitely not used. I haven't seen a water Ezio in ages, but do wanna... Yep, nope, definitely not used anymore. Eshir. I feel like we have seen way less Eshir in less tournaments than we saw before. Yeah, we're definitely seeing less Eshir. 49 on the win rate, 6 on the pick. Still good unit. I think he's a straight 85, but we definitely see it a little bit less right now. He used to be like a 90, 92-ish kind of unit. Sahat, haven't seen that unit altogether. But that also kind of makes sense, where he was always somewhat of a worse version of the fire one. If we can even find the clown. Oh, where yet? Where yet? I think I should be eyes over there. That is really fucking horrible. So if you're drafting Sahat, please stop. It's, well, it's 1% pick rate, so we can meme him in. Oh. But damn, 40 fucking percent win rate. That is ass. Piranha, very well played multiple times by Panda like. Very strong 5th pick. Not commonly picked, but if picked in the right position, if left into the game, 54 win rate, just a 3 on the pick. Makes sense. But very strong 5th. I would argue... No, I would say just an 80. Because he's not often picked. He can only be picked if there's no cleanses, there's no nothing going on the enemy team. Then he gets good. Venton. I feel like Venton, I've been drafting in a few different styles and building a few different styles. Often he feels like a little bit lack of damage. But he is very strong for the silence, he's very strong for the pushback, and he's very strong for a lot of things. But do we place that very strong on 90, or do we place that very strong on 85? I feel like he kind of feels 80 vibes, right? He is definitely a pretty strong unit. But I would still, in most cases, rather draft Okeanos than Venton. 85? Yeah, I think 85 as well. His win rate is definitely outshining the rest of the 85 tab. But I feel like he still... I don't know. His numbers show Okeanos level. Yeah, that's kind of the thing as well. Like, Okeanos actually has worse numbers than this. I think. Wait, where's the Okeanos at? Okeanos? No, Okeanos' win rate is slightly better. I'm gonna put in 90. I think he's strong. I think he's really strong. I don't know how Okeanos wins this much. Man, Okeanos is just nasty. Okay, Vandam got the higher pick. Yeah, I feel like let's go 90 on this one. Let's go 90 on this one. If people are wondering for the build, speed, attack, accuracy, or speed, attack, HP, something along those lines. So you want to go high additional damage by attack. Yeah, I think I'll drop a 90. I still like Okeanos more than I like Vandam, to be honest. I wouldn't be against it dropping Oki down 1, though, because I also feel like Okeanos kind of lowers his value a little bit at the moment, but... Yeah, I'm not against dropping Oki 1 down. I kind of feel like these two are on the same level, and these two are just way crazy as well. Plus, these two are way more spammed. Okeanos on 90, I feel like is fair. I feel like he's slightly losing his value. Chakra. I'm very curious about the Chakra win rate. I have no clue. Ooh. Wait. Is Venton legitimately picked more than Chakra? I am highly surprised about that. Alice's win rate is kind of ass. I feel like Chakra's so much better. Huh. Well, maybe people were picking it when it was down to the nerf again and it's counting for the whole season. Because for me, Chakra's straight up 90. I feel like Chakra's really strong. Definitely maybe has a little bit more Hey Gang issue. And that's what's in SWC is... In SWC, a lot of players were just missing out on the Hey Gang. They couldn't find their Hey Gangs anymore. I don't know. But Chakra for me, I feel like 90 for sure. He's weak into Leo. That is true. Chakra loses all his value into a Leo. That is kind of true, yeah. Would we one down him? I think 85. 85 is fine. 85 is fine. Everyone lost their Oki in SWC2. Yeah, we didn't have that many of those as well. They took the set, put it on NFL. Yeah, there's definitely a few units you barely saw. I'm curious about Diaz, because Diaz low-key is pretty much a similar unit as Songchen Lao. Okay, it's definitely doing it worse. I'm surprised that Diaz is doing it that much worse. I feel like it's kind of same-ish. 75. Maybe it's just lacking tankiness or so. How about the Devaraja? Strongest unit in the challenge arena. His activations are so ass. And he's full damage. I guess the issue is full damage because he also has a double activation on that right now. Not too bad on the numbers. Definitely in the 4v4 representing strong numbers. But to be honest, I feel like it's just on level of the Piranha. In a lot of cases, I feel like the Piranha, because of the healing and the second life and the attack bar gain, that it gets a little bit more. Irene. Haven't seen too much Irene ever since the Gapso meta's kind of gone-ish. I'm very happy about, because Gapso meta was stupid. But then let's see what that does to the main counter of that. Shouldn't be that far down, right? Apparently is further down. Or I'm just blind. Always towards the end of this, I've been seeing that many units that just get hella blind. Where the fuck is Irene at? Or is Irene that one random unit that's not popping up? Am I being that blind? Could be in one of those two slots. I feel like she's barely picked at the moment as well, though. Second row. What? This is second. 1, 2, 3. You motherfuckers! Oh, the second column. Thank you. Fair, fair. I've been yapping for too long. It happens, it happens. Okay, clicking way further in this. 47, 47. Not bad numbers, not too bad numbers. Liliana, hell no. I think she's still good counted up. 80. Still good counter on that. 80 for that. Bludja. Pretty sure. No, Rika wasn't even used and Bludja's not used. Layla's definitely used. Maybe a little bit overused. 15 pick rate. That is a lot. 48 on the win. It's not bad numbers. I feel like Layla really depends on, does your Layla land on fire, yes or no? If your Layla lands on fire, she's 90. If your Layla does not land on fire, she's kind of ass. But if she starts silencing a Valajul, if she starts cleanse blocking your Juno, those kind of things, then she's crazy good. But if she doesn't get those silences and those kind of things in, then she definitely goes one down. For value, though, I feel like she's more 85 value, in my opinion, than 90. She's definitely higher pick than most of it, but her win rate is not really super substantial on that. Nah, I feel like she's fine on 90. She is fine on the 90. Jessica was actually picked by Lest. Did work out pretty well for him. But it was more the damage value rather than the Jessica passive doing that much. Just kind of a thing. I still have issues finding the totem is looking kind of... Or no, wait. Back girl kind of looking unit-ish. Also shouldn't be that far down, right? Oh, she's kind of far down. Yeah, never used. Well, Dark One, I don't even have to look up. She's not even in here because she has. Jogun is also a funny one. I haven't seen a Jogun in ages. When was your guys' last match against the Jogun? That thing used to be so freaking meta. Still 1% pick rate with 57 on the win. Okay. Why is Josie up there? Because she has to be nerfed. That's why. Arguably, Jogun is not doing too bad, but then again, it's never used. Oh, wait, Jongnam. Sorry, my bad. Like I said, been doing this too long. Gapsco. Good old Gapsco. That is definitely used. 3% pick rate, 51-ish. Yep. Is still a good unit-ish. Yeah, 80 is fine. 80 is fine. Mm, Water Twins. I'm curious how bad the Water Twins are. You do still see some. Yeah, you see a bit of them here and there, but Water Twins by best for me 75. They are, you have to build them on Swift, but they're not worth your Swift, and then you have to build, like if you give them Fire, they're not both your Fire. Fire Twins, actually someone did tell me that Fire Twins have pretty substantial win rate at the moment, and it's hard countering pretty much all of the meta units. Okay, win rate not that crazy, at least in the 4v4. But it is good enough pick rate where I would say good old 80 on those. It's not that bad. Let's see on Wind Twins. Probably used a little bit less. No, still a bit used, 50-ish%, 1.5 pick. I feel like same, 75-ish. I would say Light One definitely has a bit more value, but then Light One is also, if you have the right AoE follow-up, becomes a lot stronger. They become a lot stronger. Otherwise, not as crazy. It's also one of those units, like Jogun is that good. It is, in my opinion, a good unit if your Jogun is stolen and you still want to be playing the same way. Then I feel like that the Light Twins are good. Outside of that, not as much. But I still like it more than most of the things in 80. Because of the multi-hits. Dark Twins have been picked up a little bit here and there these days. Definitely not as bad as it used to be. Apparently not picked that much, otherwise it wouldn't be that far down. Win rate is pretty substantial though, it's just the pick rate is crazy low, so don't place it in. These two are not used, these two are not used, this one is not used. Pretty sure that this unit is only used by the abnormality himself called a Lest. Anyone else would never use this unit. Man, I wonder if Lest gets a Veronica, if you would still use this shit or not. Fire might be used, but it's also not super common. Nope, definitely not common. How about the light one? Silver. Win rate of silver is a little bit on the low side. I think it's having issues with Nobara. It's the main thing. But I still think silver is a good unit. I'm just not really sure if you would build your whole draft around it if that's strong at the moment. I think I'll just give that an 80. I would definitely use it, but I would use it more of a late pick rather than a super early pick. And it wouldn't really give like best runes to it or anything. How about the Nyx, but then a Nyx with a 1 rather than a Y? It is a strong unit. It's a super hard counter pick. I expected it to be higher up. But probably I just cannot find it. I was doing so well thus far with finding everything pretty quickly every time. Where the frick you at? Why can I not find my unit? Anyone seen this thing yet? Holy hell, why can I not find it? No way it's further down than this, right? No, no way. Also, no one in chat has been calling it out just yet. What the fuck? Well, that... Oh, wait. Over here. Jesus, that took me a long time. There. That's the best. That's the best comment. It's over there. I'm like... And now I know exactly where it is. Thank you, sir, for your service. Very good counter pick. Jesus, in the 4v4... This is legit the high... Wait, is that the highest win rate in the 4v4? No. Wait, that thing is the highest win rate in the 4v4? Never seen that thing in my life. That's interesting. Well, it's kind of doing similar-ish. Did I even add her in here? I did. Oh, interesting. Really good counter into specific things. But just a good counter. But 80. 80 it is for being that crazy of a counter. We got the Dark Itadori. I really like this unit though. It's hard to use, but when he's fitting, man, that thing hits hard. Still just give it a 75 by best, but that thing is cool. How about the Nobara? Ew, that win rate is insane. 52 win rate on like 6.5 pick rate. Jeez. For a 5th pick, pretty substantially, pretty nasty. 85 nasty or 80 nasty? 85 nasty. She's countering way too many things way too hard. I kind of stupid. 85. I should have kept 2. She's good. 2 of them are good for arena offense. Then the most hated unit in game. One next to Oliver, I guess. Win rate of this thing is actually trash. You pick Nobara versus low debuff enemies, right? No, versus a lot of debuffs. Mostly AoE debuffs of 2 turns. That's why you want to smack in the Nobara. But yeah, 74 win rate is definitely not that high. It is like the 6th most paged unit. It's not that bad. Megumi 95. Well, that's the thing, is win rate is definitely not representing that high. I think he gets a 92.5 from me. In the 100 rating right now is Oliver. Oliver is solo in the 100 rating at the moment. I still think that he's the most hated unit in game. But he's not stronger than 92.5 in my opinion. He's just a hated unit rather than anything. Actually, comparable to these. It is first pick potential though. Will we one-up that? I feel like the win rate is way too low to one-up that. Also, ban rate of the Hay Gang is a bit higher. Yeah, and I don't feel like it's that strong as Josephine. Who is spamming, but then again, if one player is doing well with a unit, it doesn't make it good in general. Also, Pooh definitely has the RNG for it. I do also think that if you put way better runes, like the average Megumi probably has leftover shit runes, and Pooh's one has like probably one of his best set, if not his best set. I think that is a pretty substantial difference as well. But also, Pooh is one of those players that can spam random shit and that would not work for us. So I think I'm going to put it in 92.5. I feel like that's fair to the numbers, fair to how annoying he feels like. Then again, I'm a TL Lang owner, so the Megumis are a little bit easier, but yeah. Moving on next. I have 6 set on and never used it. Mine is also like 190, is in tune, and I never use this shit as well, because for me, I don't feel like it works. Like, if your S1 can land armor break, can land attack break, but can also not land it, I'm already like, I'm not too sure, brother. Megumi on Dark. It's kind of okay-ish. Not the biggest fan of this. Most of the time it's like, I'm gonna counter Hey Gang, unless you miss like 2 pushbacks. 75. Where does Devaraja sit? Devaraja is sitting at 80. Gojo. The strongest unit, or one of the strongest units in the special challenge battle thingy. But that is because they gave him an absolute cracked set that is like way above G3. In normal stuff, I feel like he's just a 75. I'm not a big fan of the Gojo. Like, sure, he can be used, but in most cases, you might as well start using anything at that point. Wind One, however, I'm curious about his win rate. Yup, Wind One is nasty. 51, damn. I played against or actually it was against Golem Pichaga. He proc 9 to 3. That makes this thing plus Lamilla look absolutely insane. Do we go 85? Yeah, it's pretty much 52-ish. Do we go 85 or do we go... Yeah, definitely 85. 85 feels value for him. He's just like the moment that the Limitless connects. He does have the big issue if you miss your 3-turn provoke. That's a really big miss. But then again, your cooldowns are not crazy long. The S2 has good damage. You get defense buff. Works on additional damage. He has some good stuff to his kit. I feel like 85 is kind of fine for him. Then the Light Gojo, which I think is the second most picked LD5, which is interesting for a relative recent LD5 being the second most picked LD5. Also, win rate is showing higher than the win rate of Gianna. No, actually, funny enough, they switch around. If the Gojo's in the match, he has lower win rate. If Gianna's in the match, he has higher win rate. Whereas vice versa on being banned. Interesting. And they actually exchange exactly 50.5 to 51. So, Gojo, where do you belong? Well, Gojo belongs straight over there. And the big difference between a Gojo and a Giannis, Gojo's first pick material. And being first pick material where you can throw your fastest set at your first pick material is very chill. Because very often it's like, oh, someone stole my Shiho. Someone is kind of like banning my best set. Whereas your Gojo is just nasty. Gojo's broad. Gianna's more consistent than Gojo. True. But Gojo is definitely one of those units you need something that pairs up with it. So therefore, Song Shalao makes him very strong. But you kind of want him to be paired up with something that's else very strong. Gojo needs other LDs to shine. I kind of get that. I do kind of get that. Yeah, I think I would one down him for that. That is kind of true. Gojo would like to work with a Song Shalao, Laura, a Tian Lang over there. That is kind of true. Yeah, let's one down him for that reason. Vio Sibala, Gojo is good. True. Yeah, you definitely want to be working with Speed Awakening units on Vio after the Gojo. Because if you go Gojo 230 and then you have a gap of like 50 speed, like sure, something's going to cut in. So I can see 95 on him for that reason. I feel like that's fair. Moving on, and next, Dark One. Haven't seen Dark One being used in a very long time. I think the big issue for him is just too inconsistent. Yep, inconsistency is shown in the win rate, 45. Tanjiro's, I think only the light one actually did get some playtime. It's not super high on the pick rate, but win rate is 55. I've seen some people play this thing. It is on Vio. It's super tanky. It still does about like 30k on the S2. The S3 starts making you heal the moment you get turns in. This thing is actually low-key pretty annoying. I don't think it's crazy good, but this thing is actually, I think more people should give this thing a try. Probably speed, crit rates, attack with high HP subs or anything like that. This thing is annoying. But I'll give that just an 80 for now. Nezuko Dark. Nezuko. Pretty substantial win rate, 53. Pick rate is not that high, 54 even. Those are pretty decent win rates. I'll give you 85. It's still a nasty unit. Can you check the rank of the light series? Most likely barely used ever. Legit, the Misty pretty much does her job better. Yeah, 40% win rate on 25 picks. Probably half of those are mine as well. No, actually, I haven't used her that much as of recently. Let's check out these crybabies. Zenitsus. Are people actually using the Zenitsus? Oh, it's looking as Quellion Slasher. Les was using this. It is bad. Wind one is bad. Let's see if Obabo's inting on the Dark One. Dark One is good. Does need a good set to be good, though. That's definitely for the Dark One, but I give the Dark One an 80 as well. Yeah, I think the nerf on the Wind one kind of came a little bit too late. They already had that nerf on the shelf, and then it's like, oh yeah, we still do that one, where he already was drifted out of meta. That's sometimes the thing they do, whereas a unit is already drifted out of meta, and then they still add in the nerf on top of it. What the fuck is this win rate? Since when is this unit good? I'm gonna give you... Oh, wait, that's Tiana. Wait, where did Tiana come from? Over there. Wait, I lost my unit. Somewhere halfway in the pile. Oh, it's over there. I don't like this unit at all. Good with Vandon. I see the potential. Yeah, you're not touching the Megumi. No, I'll still one down it. No, actually... I do see some potential in him. 28 lead, it's definitely not bad. If all of it gets nerfed, he definitely gets good. Light and Nosuke, I feel like that unit is a little bit overrated, to be honest. Yep, win rates do actually represent that as well. I feel like he's too squish and does too little damage. And has to land everything. So it's one of those issues That's way too many stats that you have to go through. So I would say 75. That's DS? Oh, wait, you're totally right. Wait, did I? Wait. What the fuck? That was a nice Brazen Freeze. Wrong unit, yep. Okay, maybe it's higher then. Do we, where though? Is it also the Inosuke or is it the other one? That is the big question. I thought I saw the whatever name it is. Okay, Inosuke over here. Oh, that's actually way higher than, okay, never mind. Never mind, I was wrong. Win rate is way higher than expected. Never mind, I was wrong. Pick rate is still that low that cannot really give him crazy credits for that, but I'll give him an 80. Still feel like he's kind of overrated, but that could be me. 80 is fine for me on that one. Then we go into Lamila. Very strong unit at the moment as well. I should be ruining up myself a better Lamila. 50 win rate though. Ish. 6.5 pick. Not too bad. Not too crazy neither. 85. 85 value right there. This thing definitely not used. People were saying that Moira was actually pretty good after buff. Win rate does show pretty darn high. Is it just a good counter against debuffs, or what is her value? Like, she gets attack bar on debuffs or something weird, right? But does she actually do that much damage afterwards? I do remember fighting her in TOA or like the COA thing. She was kind of annoying there, but then anything can be annoying in there. Yeah, just a good counter. I feel like 75 is fair on that. I would still rather have a Nyx as a good counter into that than this. And then Valeska. Funny enough, even after a bunch of nerfs, still is strong as units. Definitely don't think she's that far down. No, she's actually very high on top. Yeah, 8% pick was still 52 on the win. Even 53.71. That's insane. That is actually a pretty insane. Do we go 90 on Valeska or do we go 85 Valeska? I kind of feel like she's showing 90 values. Yeah, no, she's definitely showing 90 values. Even after nerf, she's still showing 90 values. 92.5? Well, I wouldn't be against that. I would not be against that. Her win rate is that crazy high. Plus, she enables a bunch of drafts. Plus, she has higher win rate than everything in this pile. I like that. 92.5. Even after nerf. Can you imagine not having that nerf? She's spammable? True, true. The people that have her, if you have the right comp, it's spammable. I'm curious mainly about Gideon. Gideon might be played. Don't think it is played much. It's not the worst. Gideon can actually do some good damage. I think I'll give that an 80. Then we go into the new units. New units, starting off with Mr. Hwarang itself. Well, we just find it over here. Okay, how long does it take? Let's actually up this to this. How long does it take to find another unit with 10% pick rate on the win rate? Laura. So this unit, 11% pick rate, 54% win rate. Yeah, that's pretty busted. I feel like it takes a little bit of time for people to figure it out, where it might be lowered a bit more later. But yeah. Fun fact is, I spoke to countless people at SWC Paris. This unit was supposedly released even stronger. They already nerfed it before it was released. This passive was supposed to be maxing on 250 or even 300. I'm very happy they made it 200. Otherwise, we had like an emergency balance patch. Because imagine this shit at fucking 300. But I wouldn't be surprised if this shit gets nerfed to just 150. If you make it 100, you might gut the unit. If you make it 150, I think the unit is still fine. But I would argue that he might be even 105. But yeah, this unit is absolutely way more busted than anything else. We have seen this unit pretty much solo like 3-4 units. He's 75. My ass is 75. But I feel like 105 would be fair on that one. Okay, for that simple reason, I just say this. Do we even feel like Oliver is fully 97 and or like 100? I feel like I can one down Oliver though. The person who won doesn't have it, so it's 75. I feel like wanting down Oliver because I feel like that this thing is stronger. Oliver's 100. Okay, too many people said Oliver's 100. Oliver's still a bitch though. He's first pickable. This thing is not first pickable. If this thing was first pickable, he would be 105. Let's make that argument. Paul, we add more annoying shits on top of annoying shits so we can annoying shits while having annoying shits. Win rate is definitely not showing that much, but he's definitely the annoying shits factor. 80 for Paul. Warring is first pickable. Kind of true. Fire Jin. I don't expect Fire Jin to be picked that much. What the fuck? How did Guts win with this? Well, that's just the luck of the tribe, man. Holy shit. That unit ass. Man, I'm so sure that they're gonna give 28 speed lead to this unit and we're all gonna cry about it in 3 months. If they do it, I'm gonna pre-cry about it that they give this unit 28 speed lead. Just letting you know. Like, I just wanna, like... I'm gonna pre-cry about it, because I know they will do that shit. I think that's going to be the whole list. Yes, sir. Recording 2 hours. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Next patch is gonna be depressing. Well, there's actually one thing I did hear from someone, and that kind of makes sense, actually. It was a Comto's employee. It was not the higher-ups, but it was definitely one of the employees. And he said the following for the balance patch that they do in November. The balance patch in November mostly is not that strong, which actually from previous years was true. And the reason for that was that they don't want to change the meta heavily after SWC. And the reason is that people watch SWC and then they start building the units in SWC, and then 2 weeks later, all of the units from SWC are nerfed. They don't really want to have that experience, so therefore the balance patch that happens in January mostly is heavier than the balance patch that happens in November. Is a little bit sad, but I kind of do get the idea behind it. But then again, fuck it, start changing shit, man. There's always an excuse. Yep, there's always an excuse because, yeah, whatever. But that is what I heard, and it sounds plausible. So if the balance patch is shit, whatever. It's never a good time to do it. Yeah, that's kind of a thing as well. To be honest, fucking start changing shit, man. I don't give a shit about your reason. I don't give a shit about your reason. But yeah, that is going to be the tier list, ladies and gentlemen. Video of this, if you did miss anything, is going to be posted tomorrow. Same with the Reddit post and all of that kind of good stuff. So thanks a lot for hanging out here and making the tier list with me. Definitely do appreciate that kind of good stuff. Can we move Pony about Hwoarang? No, we cannot. Rexus will agree. Only if you have crazy good RNG. But then again, if you have crazy good RNG on this, then it starts follow. Like, this unit kills your whole team. This unit is just trying to prevent your team from dying. Like, those are two different things. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at this. I think the list looks nice. It's definitely a little bit more LD heavy in the 90 plus. But if we're looking at the 95, it's still very free-to-play friendly-ish. What would you guys say? Like, if they hard nerf Oliver, wouldn't that simply mean that all of the LDs get so much stronger? Food for thought. Either out.